Okay, I want to cover a couple things today that's really good to work on your own, but it's important for us to have down as we're teaching. So this is, although everybody gets to see this one, and hopefully we'll be back in our regular classes again this coming week. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with the governor. So we'll kind of see. If not this week, definitely the following week we should be back on by May the 4th, but hopefully by tomorrow the 27th. So we'll just see what happens. But here's what I want everybody to kind of work on now, and this is kind of fun, although it's confusing. But we use this a lot when we're teaching beginners. As an advanced student or an instructor, one of the things that we have to do is think about how it's going to be easiest for us to train our beginners. So we're going to go through a form here real quick, and I want you to start thinking about this with all of your forms, especially through the beginner ranges, white belt, yellow belt, and orange belt, because we have to do things a lot of times backward. So we're going to do our form backward. Now, that doesn't mean everything is backward. It's completely reversed. I'm just doing it mirrored for my student. One of the things that we have a problem with is say, okay, go to your ready stance and put your left hand to your ear and turn for your low block. Well, if I'm in a mirror, I can see that. I understand it. I can see what the instructor is doing. But if I'm training someone, I have to do it this way. All right, so put your hand to your ear, and a lot of times your student can't see what you're doing. So you're constantly trying to move around to get to the side of them, or you're trying to kind of scooch to an angle where they can look kind of at you, or maybe you'll get a little bit behind them so they can look over their shoulder to see what you're doing. One of the easier things is to be your student's mirror, because they're following you. Now, the problem with this, if you do this a lot, when you say turn to your right, I have to turn to my left. Or if I say turn to my left, I have to turn to my right, because I'm mirroring my student. In real life, as you're driving down the road and somebody says, okay, where do I go, right or left? We say, oh, take a left. Well, no, that's right to me, or to everybody else. So you get to the point where you just have to point, because you're so screwed up in your directions, you know, nobody can understand what you're saying. So I want to go through this. We're going to go through basic form 1, and I'm going to show you some tricks and techniques on how to make this work correctly. And I want you to think about these as you're doing your forms, or even as you're shadow boxing. So I'll go through basic form 1, ready stance, and I'll say, okay, put your, and you have to say this correctly, even though you're doing it backward. For my ready stance, I'm going to put instead of my left hand and turn to my left, I'm going to put my right hand, but I have to call it my left hand. So put your left hand to your ear, and your left foot slides backward, and you turn to your left and do a low block. So your student should do the exact same thing. And then you say step and punch with your right hand, although it's your left hand. Hand your ear, your front foot slides back at an angle, turn, low block, step and punch. Now, after that step and punch, we have to dance. So when I do my step and punch here, I have to have, as my student steps this direction, they're going to have their left leg out. I have to have my right leg out. So I'll slide backward, and then I'll switch feet. And now I'm mirrored them again. I can't go forward because I'm going to run into my student. So I'm going to step backward. And I'll punch, step back, punch, step back, and punch. Or for us, we'll punch one more time. Now, next, as I turn around backward, my student is now facing the opposite direction. So no matter what I'm doing, they're facing away from me. So at this point, I have to move to the other side. So again, we're having to kind of juggle things around again. From here, as they do their strike, that double strike, so they've gone punch, punch, you know where you're going at this point because you're spinning around, the hand is out, so you're going the direction, you're doing everything the same. So the hand goes to your ear and your back foot spins. So your back foot will also spin here. So now you're mirrored again. My right foot is out and they've just spun, so their left foot is out. So I'm here, and for them, they just finished this point and they spun this direction. So their left leg is out, I'm here, my right leg is out. As I do this, we both step and punch. Now, at this point, I have to change sides. So I come on this side of them, and we're backward again. Here, pop, hit, I'll step backward, and back with this leg. Step and punch, same thing. Now, so that's as I'm teaching. So I just do basically the exact same thing, opposite on the other side. Although, if we're practicing these on our own, we're going to change things around a little bit. Now, as I'm practicing with my students, as I'm teaching somebody, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing my form backward for that first half and the first spin. Now I've got to switch sides, so I'm on the other side of them. So I just walk around to the other side, and I do the exact same thing again. As I try this on my own, at home, we have to dance again. So, if I'm doing this backward, from here, I'll go low block, step and punch, low block, step and punch. I dance, my foot comes back, and then the other foot goes out. Low block, step and punch, step and punch, step and two punches. As I spin, remember that I have to have my foot on the other side. So, as I spin, I have to think about where I am. So, this gets difficult to explain. If I finished here, pop, pop, and I spin here, bink. This foot's in front. Now remember, I'm going, if I finished here, I'm going that direction. If I'm doing this backward, it's going to be a little different. So let me switch the camera angle. Okay, so we're changing angles here so we can kind of see the rest of this form as far as the turnaround goes. Now, so we've just gone backward, and our student has just come forward. So we're mirrored, 1, 2, 3, punch, punch. I've turned this direction. My student is still doing the same thing. They can still watch me at this point before I have to change directions. They turn here, here. Now I have two options. Because we just came this direction, they should know what to do going back the other direction, just the steps and punches. So what I can do from here is now, number one, I can follow them, or I can switch sides. So if I'm following, I've just come here, 1, 2, 1, 2, and now I'll be even with them. So I'll dance again. My feet will come together, I'll step out, and now we should be even. So we're going this direction. They'll have their left foot in front, I'll have my left foot in front. So I don't have to be backward to them because I'm kind of telling them just step and punch, step and punch. So I'll step and punch, step and punch, step and two punches. Now, they're going to spin and go that direction. So I have two options. Number one, my foot will come up, I will spin, but my right foot will go out instead of my left foot. So again, watching that, I just finished what they've done. 1, 2, I'll step up and go out with this foot. Option 2 is instead of doing the spin, I'll just step straight over. So we've just hit here, 1, 2, this foot will slide backward, and I'll step again. So, they're this direction. We're in the same position. So, I've just come back, low block, step punch, low block, step punch, low block, step, step, step. From here, as I turn, this way, or here, and then I turn and step out. Now, your student shouldn't really see what you're doing anyway because you're behind them. So it's going to make it easier for you to take your choice, to pick what you want to do. Normally from here, as they spin, it's easier if they see you spinning also, because they're going to turn and face you like almost immediately. So it's going to be easier for them if I bring this foot up, I turn and do my low block, and then finish right along with them. It's easier for you from here just to turn and go this way, almost like you would do on your fifth motion. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just come back here. It's almost just like that. And for, like I said, for you it's easier. It's easier for them to see the spin. So the spin one more time. My front foot will stay. My back foot will come up. And then I will spin around. And my back foot, not my back foot anyway, my right leg will step out. So that's kind of the trick with basic form 1. And there are a dozen ways to do this. The other way, obviously, is switch sides so they can follow you. So you're mirrored again. It's the exact same thing that you did going the other direction. So when they spin, you're here. You just spin with them, step and punch, spin, step and punch. As you go to the front, you'll just walk around to the other side. Okay, and then you go through the same thing. So here's your low block, pop, pop, and step back in 2 punches. That's really important for those that ever want to teach, to be able to do the form backward, mirrored in front of your student. And at some point, everyone is going to become an instructor, whether you want to or not. Even if you're an orange belt, at some point I'm going to say, I want you to take the white belt and I want you to work with them on basic form 1. And so this will be easier for you to help teach them, especially if you're orange belt or up. All right, try that, and then we'll also go on to just doing the form backward. Okay, backward forms. We'll go back. We kind of just did basic form 1. We'll go back and do basic form 2, and then we're going to jump ahead to hand 1 and hand 2 and do those backward. So, basic form 2 backward. And this is just straight backward. I'm not teaching, I'm just doing this for myself. Or we're doing this for you, something to work on at home. So from here, basic form 2. Now, I'm going to go forward with this. Since I'm not having a student here with me, I'm just backward. Basic form 2 backward. for most of us, basic forms, we should have those down. For our next form, we're going to go through hand one, backward. And again, after you get to a certain level, once a student gets to a point where they're working on the middle forms, hand one, or the jurus, or Sinam Tao, something like that, I no longer really have to focus on doing things backward as much because my student is more advanced. They understand what we're doing. You can tell them, go to a corner and do a knife hand strike, and they kind of know what they're doing at that point. But for the beginner stages, basic forms 1, 2, and 3, doing them backward with your student, completely backward, so you're mirroring them the whole time, is really important. After that, they should have it down. If they don't, then you're a horrible instructor. Okay. Hand one backward. Hand two, backward. I'm going to do that completely backward so you can kind of follow along if you should have this. So those are kind of fun to do the forms, just going the other direction, starting from the other side. You can also do them completely backward, where you start at the last move and work your way backward, but that's a little bit more advanced. So try those.